This is Mark Washington from MTC Media, and what we wanted to talk about today is my three takeaways from the George Mason 74-52 win over Stony Brook. Now, Stony Brook was picked to finish first in their conference, and as you could see on opening night with all the close games, George Mason taking care of business, especially in the second half, says a lot about where this program could go. Maybe not this year, but in the upcoming years. First of all, what jumps out at you, obviously, is the efficiency of Josh Oduro. He is a traditional big. He can play so comfortable with his back to the basket. And you're not seeing that all that much anymore in the era of stretch bigs. He does stretch a little bit. We haven't seen it. I think he only took one or two really true perimeter shots in the first game, but that was fine because when he has his back to the basket, he can score with that back to the basket. He can also face up. You figure he got in foul trouble, had two in the first half, had to sit down for a while, but he played 24 minutes and scored 16 points. Kim English does a great job at being able to spread the floor and getting Josh to catch the ball with some space down on the perimeter. So Oduro, big game the other night. He's going to be a big part of George Mason's success. Free throw attempts. Now, only reason I bring this up is because George Mason only attempted 6 free throws. There wasn't that many fouls called, and to be frank with you, Stony Brook didn't do much to play hard enough defense to actually commit fouls. But it's one of those things you want to take a look at with George Mason because they do scheme to get downhill and to get to the front of the rim. There's a lot of drives and kicks, but ultimately you want to be able to finish in the lane. Ultimately, you want to be able to finish in the front of the rim. It was disappointing that they only had 6 free throws. Part of it is that the Patriots were called for multiple charges. So your angles and your attack angles and how fast you're taking off, that also played a part. But again, I don't want to ding them too much because Stony Brook's defense was not going to remind you of Nolan Richardson's Arkansas teams. Last but not least, the switching defense out on the perimeter. George Mason was doing a lot of handing players off, especially when Stony Brook went to that weave offense out top. I thought they did a great job, but the one thing I want to see is what's going to happen when teams start to screen and have weak side movement below the free throw line. I know this is not high school. George Mason probably in their man offense probably plays about 4 or 5 different schemes in their man offense based on whether they're switching the screens, whether you're staying, whether you want to ice the screen if it's out of that free throw line extended. So there's various things, but I'm waiting for George Mason to be challenged. Stony Brook, frankly, as the game started getting away, they resorted to a bunch of one-on-one stuff, and that's how that league got so big. But I certainly want to see how George Mason plays defensively and what their schemes are on screens, especially away from the ball, and how they handle it. Stony Brook probably wasn't the best game to evaluate it, but I did like the switching out front. The switching made sense. They were handing guys off. Those guys were certainly interchangeable. You see a lot of that in the NBA, which is why you see a lot of the switches, just because the athletes and the ground they can cover and their foot speed is so good in today's basketball. We don't give these guys enough credit that you can do things schematically. But again, George Mason 1-0. They play on Friday and Sunday, so we'll have our breakdowns there. But tonight, we will be at Maryland, George Washington. Look for our coverage out there from College Park. Again, this is Marcus Washington from MTC Media.